what Ben's going to do today is run us through a hands-on workshop to create your compelling vision.
3 + 1 on the way refers to my growing family. I have 3 kids, 6, 4, 2, and 1 due in 8 weeks. We're officially in a people mover. Yes, we are that family. And each weekend, I sit down with the kids and we watch a movie. I think one of the best investments I've ever made is Disney Plus. And so each weekend we start with a movie. And the other weekend we watch the new Buzz Lightyear movie. Has anyone seen the new Buzz Lightyear movie? It's amazing. Growing up with Toy Story, I love seeing the story of Buzz. And my son Tommy, he's 6, he's like, "Dad, we've got to build the big starship." I'm like, "Okay, all right." My daughter Annie comes out. She's like, "Yes, Dad, the starship. It's going to defeat the evil Emperor Zurg." I was like, "Okay, we better get ready for this." So a bit of action time later, we are sitting down building Zurg's spaceship and Buzz's spaceship, but we couldn't just do it in our casuals. No, we had to get dressed up for the occasion. And as I was building my version of the Starship Invader, whatever it's called, I was like getting really into it, playing with the Lego. I had this idea of what I was going to do. And as I'm plodding away at it, Tommy's come up to me. He's like, "Dad, what are you building?" I was like, "I'm building the Starship." He goes, "I was building it this way, on the ground, as if it was going to like take off like a plane would." He's like, "No, starships go up the way. You got to build it up. How's it going to go to the sky?" I was like, sorry, Tommy. Okay, we'll build it your way. Today we're talking about creating a compelling vision. So many of the awesome ideas live inside our heads. Hopefully we get them out through the conversations that we have, but more importantly, I want you to document them. Maybe we would have building plans for this spaceship that we were going to build, right? Today we're going to do that. This is a workshop. We want to just create a little bit of clarity before we do this. If you have a compelling vision, awesome. How well have you done it? I want to challenge you today, if you've got a vision, maybe it's on your laptop, on your phone, you've got a working document, I want you to refine it. If this is the first time you're doing it, what an opportunity to get something on paper. Question I have for you is, how often do you do strategic planning? Is it daily? Is it weekly? Monthly? Quarterly is typical. Is it yearly? Or is it kind of whenever I get the opportunity? Maybe it's something like this. I want you to think that we should be strategically planning every single day. And we should be documenting that in a way that allows us to share and bring in our team into that vision so that they can help craft what we do. So to create a little bit of clarity here, I think it's important that we have a definition to work from. You don't have to adopt this one, but it'll guide us in the conversation today. Strategy is the articulation of your reasoning and explanation for the deliberate commitment of resources to work to achieve an outcome or set of outcomes. We're going to talk about one very important part, your reasoning. Your reasoning is really the process for how you think and how you make decisions. So often in a team meeting, maybe in your culture day, in whatever forum you might be discussing what we do next, we get straight into debating the ideas, the work part of the definition. And it can be hard to maybe understand where someone's coming from when they present an idea. You might reject it or disagree with it. You might think there's a better way to do it. How well are we actually sharing the context behind why that idea is the one we want to pursue? And that comes back to reasoning. How well are you documenting the thoughts that you have, the beliefs, the observations, the trends that you're seeing that actually guide the decisions or ideas that you have and want to present? So we have vision, desires, beliefs, and forecasts. These are 4 sections, if you like, that you could have on a document that act as like subheadings, where you can capture the relevant content that would help you inform the decisions that you make. Example of vision we're going to go through in a moment, but any desires, your desire statement, your team members' desire statements, the meaningful goals that you have, that's what you would put under this. In the belief sections, what beliefs do you have about your industry, your profession, your local community? What are some of the things that are helping shape or form your opinion? The more consciously aware we are of those things, the sharper we become at making decisions, or at least allowing people to have robust discussions, to have that radical candor. The next one is forecast. Are there trends or observations that you are seeing? Pete spoke to it yesterday when he gave us the statistics on Seek about how many jobs there are. Did you know those stats? If you got a recruitment challenge, how well do you know what the recruitment landscape is like right now? What are the trends or observations? As leaders, if you're an owner especially, you're an investor. You are invested in your business. If you had an external investor come in and have a look at your clinic to explore the opportunities to grow, how might they come in and analyze your business? They would definitely be looking at what are the trends that are shaping your profession? What are the trends that are shaping your local community? The funding sources that you get access to, how acutely aware are you of the forces that shape or change those things? I think this is a really great area for us to all level up in because it helps inform our decision making. Today we're just talking about vision. In your workbooks, I'd love for you to just select a date. I'm not going to tell you what date to select, but you might choose a year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever date or timeline you feel is comfortable for you to set your vision, and then we're going to set it. So in your workbooks, we'll give you 1 minute to select the date into the future. It might be March 2025, March 2027. I want you to put that pen to paper in your workbooks. Judging by the chatter, everyone's got their date. So this is the date that we're setting our compelling vision for. Essentially, this is the timeline for us realizing or bringing to life that vision. When we're talking about vision, it starts with Imagine If, and this is a wonderful exercise for you to do with your team. Peter shared a little bit the other day about constraint-based thinking. You know, imagine if money was no issue. Imagine if time wasn't an issue. What would we do? What would we do differently? So even if you just started with Imagine If to your team, it's a wonderful exercise to do at your next team meeting. Might want to ask a specific question, but start with Imagine If. These are the 5 areas. We're going to use the 5 degrees of the 7 to be able to craft your compelling vision. You do not have to use these degrees. You could just start with a blank piece of paper and go nuts. But I'm going to give you this as a bit of structure so you can compartmentalize your thinking. Otherwise, you can get a little bit lost. So we're going to do these degrees. The first one is purpose. Now, before we get into purpose, Jack has just shared in the Slack channel a PDF to support you in this. I've got examples to share with you that might just inspire you in these areas, and you might want to read them in a moment when we get to doing the work. You're going to have 7 minutes for each one of the 5 degrees to write your compelling vision. You might be like, oh, that's not long enough to create a compelling vision. If we changed from doing that strategic planning, which one part of it is the reasoning component, to a daily or a weekly exercise, just became part of you documenting where the clinic is going, then you don't have to wait another quarter to get a whole day to do it. This should be continually evolving. So we've got a document, the PDF in the Slack channel, that will give you some inspiration in just a moment. But if you feel like you just want to put your head down and do it on your own without any bias, that's okay too. Okay, we're going to go into purpose. The first 2 minutes, and we're going to do the same structure for each one of the 5 degrees, is that to use a little bit of our perhaps SOAP, subjective, objective elements that we might use in writing notes, there's subjective and objective elements to our compelling vision. We don't want it to be all fluff and like wishful thinking, but we also don't want it just to be a bunch of stats and numbers. We want to get a nice hybrid of both. So we're going to start with the objective side first, because that'll help you with some of that more creative, compelling writing. So when it comes to your purpose, the causes that matter to you, the impact that you seek to make, we're going to start with the objective side. So measurable things that you would like to see on the date or the timeline that you chose. So if it's 2025, what are some objective, measurable elements that I would like to see? They're going to kind of be some bullet points to the right-hand side of your page. After that 2 minutes is done, we're then going to spend 5 minutes where you can expand on that. You can create the color. You can add the compelling language to it. And then we're going to bring it to life. After that, we'll move on to the next degree. I've put a few prompts on the right-hand side for each one of these degrees. So the example here in purpose is there a dollar or percentage, perhaps of your revenue or profit, that you would like to contribute? Maybe there's pro bono work or hours that you would like to donate or create for your team and your community. Are there specific causes or specific outcomes for those causes that you would like to help bring to life? Awareness. Maybe you would like to host events. Are there any initiatives and/or advisory? Do you want to give some social advocacy to the causes that matter to you? Perhaps it's positions on associations or boards. Perhaps you've got folks from different organizations on your boards. So for the next 2 minutes, we're going to write what are the objective, measurable elements that we'd like to see that relate to our clinic's purpose on the timeline that you've set. I'll let you know when the 2 minutes is done, and then we'll move to crafting the compelling language behind it. All right, let's go. We spoke about constraint-based thinking. We're doing constraint-based doing at the moment to really just make sure whatever first comes to mind, we pop it down and we constantly are iterating this. We're now on to the compelling language, the sentence, to bring this now to life a little bit more. There are the examples in the PDF that we shared in Slack. You might just find a sentence or two from there that you're like, great, that sounds really good. I'm going to use that one exactly. Because we're going to continue to work on this and change it daily or weekly. So now is our opportunity in your workbooks or in your documents on your laptop to be able to craft 3 sentences or so that bring life, bring some really vivid language to animating the objective points that you've put down now. Okay, so we'll have 5 minutes for this section here. Again, I want to encourage you that this becomes part of a regular routine for you, is reviewing this and using it in your team meetings, maybe at the start of your week to anchor the week and think about how am I acting and making decisions in alignment with this vision. So be okay that if it's, as Brené Brown would say, a shitty first draft, because it's about continual improvement every day. We're now going to move on to team. Again, if you're getting a little bit caught up with the structure of the degree, break out of that mold and just use a blank canvas. For those that like a little bit of structure, you can use this here just to prompt you in the areas where you need to create some definition around your compelling vision. So in team, what are some of the objective elements? Again, we've got 2 minutes on just the objective elements. So you might have an idea of the number of full-time therapists or even the disciplines. Maybe you're adding different professions to your team. Maybe you've got world-class trainers doing the CPD in your clinic on a regular basis. LOS stands for length of stay or length of tenure. You might want to measure retention by how many active months have people been part of our team. You can go into all sorts of fun statistics to figure out where people churn. You might find that a lot of people at their 2-year mark exit. We're going to do something about it. Again, this is about your reasoning for the choices you make about allocating the resources you have. So length of stay or churn is about team members. You might want to say that the average years of experience is X. If you want to get real specific, you might say of senior therapists, our years of experience is X. Another great one is how many of your team are hitting rewards. If you don't have rewards now, that's okay. Remember, this is part of your vision. This is a sign that the team are thriving. And then eNPS stands for Employee Net Promoter Score, which is basically how likely are you to refer a friend or colleague to come and work at our clinic. So you might want to put a score there of your team. You might do that metric maybe once every 6 months. Okay, so 2 minutes just on the objective stuff around your team. We'll conclude that 2 minutes there where you've got some real objective measures. And this is really important for you as a leader and especially as a business owner. So often there isn't anyone performance managing us. Like, are you hitting your KPIs? Especially the team ones, they relate to us as business owners when we look at length of stay or churn. How well are we retaining our team members? Well, can you measure it? So I would really challenge you, if you want to level up as a business owner, that you look to having a clear position description for yourself and KPIs set for yourself as well. And they especially relate to team. We're going to now move to the subjective part. Again, the compelling nature, the sentence, the color behind the numbers. We're going to describe what it looks like, our attraction, our recruitment, the mentoring and training and the development of our team members, and then the nurturing of pathways and career and personal progression. If you want to grab a couple of sentences in each of those, you'll create a really wonderful paragraph. And if you can read the slide, but it's in the PDF, these examples. All right, 5 minutes, let's go. We'll move on now to finance. Again, this is a really important part, the reasoning, the context behind why you're looking at doing certain bits of work or taking on different projects or initiatives. We so often, when we get to our 120-day plan, go, this is what we're going to do. Roll out pathways for our team, but rarely do we think about how much is that going to cost to do. Maybe I have to speak to my accountant, HR advisor. How much time is it going to take? Who needs to be involved? And why are we making this decision now? So this is really important as part of the context behind your next 120 days. In finance, we've spoken about this in Jack's session, so hopefully this should come a little bit easier now. We're going to look at, do you have revenue targets? Do you have percentage targets for your profit, whether that's gross profit, operating profit, net profit? Perhaps you're looking at getting different shareholders or changing your shareholding. This would be something to put on your vision. What about your balance sheet? Look at your bank accounts. What do they look like in each of the different accounts you might have for the relevant liabilities or savings that you might be looking to use to invest in resources or new clinic sites? What about the valuation of your clinic? Do you want it to hit a certain target because part of your reasoning is you're progressing towards an exit, either fully or partially, meaning team members might be buying in and you want them to buy in at a certain value? What about distributions or pay for yourself or your leadership team or your team overall? Maybe as part of your retention, you would like to be able to pay a higher amount to your team members. So being clear on that, again, that's part of your vision. That's part of the context behind the decision to focus on retention. And perhaps you have different streams of income, whether that's renting out rooms or different products. Maybe there's different elements to your business where you're able to monetize those things. So 2 minutes on the objective elements related to finance. In this session, you don't have to have something written down for each one of these, but as part of your vision, it would be a good idea to add context and specificity to answering each of these as part of your vision. For today, though, if you're able to just nail one or two of those elements, we're on the way. Because remember, one of the shifts I want you to make is not thinking that we're doing strategic planning once a quarter. It should be something as a business owner and as a leader, we sit down and we find intentional time to do it on a regular basis. I'd suggest weekly. Even if it was 30 minutes to visit this document you're creating, to refine it, to update it, because it's guiding every decision that you make. How often do we make decisions? Every day. So it's really important that you consult this document. We're going to work now on the subjective elements to bring finances, typically pretty dry. We're going to bring that to life. Again, use the examples. Maybe there's a sentence or two in the PDF that you've got or what's up here on the slides that just helps bring that to life a little bit more for you. Especially when we talk about finances, we want it to be meaningful. So you might find some inspiration in the PDF that brings it to life for you. We'll do 5 minutes now. We're now going to move on to experience. Broadly, this is about your client's experience. There's been some really great shares up in the summit sessions here about client experiences and how you'd like to transform that, maybe the things you'd want to invest in. When it comes to client's experience, we're going to start again with the objective elements. Things like Net Promoter Score. How likely are you to refer a friend or colleague to come to our clinic if you're running that particular survey? Word of mouth referrals. What percentage perhaps or number do they make up each week in your clinic? That's a great reflection of the experience clients have. PVA, patient visit average. How long are they maybe sticking around with you, or the lifetime value? You might even want to put a sort of a discharge rate if that's a key element in your clinic. Milestones achieved means when a client initially comes to us and they say they've got an important or meaningful goal that they want to achieve in their life, that we stay accountable to them achieving it. There's a really great chapter in the book about milestones achieved from Eat, Speak, Learn, who are part of the community, if you want to check that out and learn about creating meaningful outcomes for clients. Patient-reported outcome measures and experience measures, PROM and PREM. You might be using different tools there, again, to assess what's our patient's experience actually like. How do we measure that? How do we improve it? So for the next 2 minutes, what are some of the objective measures that you would like to see in your clinic on the timeline that you selected? The final one, the final degree that we're going to work through. This is similar to writing a desire statement for yourself or your team members, where we would segment it into different sections. You know, your life, health and wellness, your finances, etc. Again, you can use a blank canvas here, but hopefully this structure just gives you something to use and reference so that as you progress and develop your routine for improving it, you've got a system to follow. But be okay, again, to use a blank canvas. So in brand, of course, we talked about brand being reputation, in the eye of the beholder, right? The perception in your local communities about your clinic. Kind of scary how little we control it. But we do our best to say one thing and do that thing consistently enough that we create the reputation we hope we want to have in the community. So brand actually touches everything, from the way we answer the phone at the front desk, through to how we deliver the consultation, through to the curtains that Shane Bennett talked about and moving your way through life. Every little element that a patient sees, touches, feels is part of their experience and creates a perception in their mind about you. And they tell their friends and family and colleagues about that. So brand touches everything, but we're going to isolate it a little bit more to attracting and working with ideal people, clients, team members, partners, and suppliers. You can look at how you're positioned in your community. So there are partnerships. Perhaps there's someone that you want to partner with. You want to think really big about doing this. An example might be Mick and the iMove team partnered with Lululemon. They wanted to really get into contact with their ideal clients. So maybe there's someone outside of just the professional down the road or in the care network that you work in. Maybe you want to think big about the partnerships that you want to have. Next is new clients or the sources of those new clients. Maybe you want to be really specific about the split that you see when you run your analysis. Awards, perhaps you want to be recognized in certain areas locally, nationally, globally for what you do. We don't do it for the awards, but it's always a good stress test for the quality of our systems and our people as well. Next is certifications. Maybe you want to be a B Corp or a Clinics for Good clinic, coming later. Or you want reviews, PR or media. There are certain ways that you want to be able to measure those things. So we'll start with 2 minutes on the objective element, and then we'll move to bringing it to life with colourful language. Not bad colourful language, but like, you know what I mean, bring it to life. Okay, 2 minutes. We're about to progress on to round this out. We're going to add the colour. We're going to do the 5 minutes now of bringing it to life. Couple of sentences again, take some inspiration from the PDF, add it into your document. Be okay that it's not perfect, that it's not finished. We could spend 3 days on this and still have more to do. This is about getting paint on the canvas, or if you already got paint, it's starting to create a clearer picture. All right, 5 minutes on this. The idea here with having the objective side and then the subjective side is that if we ask you just to write a compelling vision about this area of your business, it can be kind of hard to sift through all the thoughts. So if we go, these are some of the objective elements that we would like to measure our vision against, then it's a good little feeder into going, okay, now let's write some sentences around those things to make them a little bit more meaningful and add color. You can write it as structured, as formulaic as you want. The idea at the end of the day is to have a document, probably about 3 to 4 pages in length after you've typed it out, that captures all of the elements of your clinic in a very meaningful and compelling way, that we use language in there that reflects your clinic values and makes you feel excited to read it, and would get your team up and about as well when they read it, like, this is where we're going. How cool to be a part of it. So the idea is to bring it into a central document, 3 or 4 pages long. Through the exercise today, we've broken it down into very specific components, almost like a bit of a table. Take it into your own document, make it look pretty and on brand. The idea here in giving this structure is to just make it a little bit easier for you to come up with what are the specifics on our vision. Again, we could spend 3 days doing this and still have more to do. The key action for you is to make strategic planning, and especially the reasoning part of strategic work, part of your regular routine. I'd encourage you to sit down weekly, look at that document, and just slightly update it. And then you can share it with your team to guide the discussions and, more importantly, the decisions that you make so that they're more on brand and more purposeful. That's the aim. I love this quote from Helen Keller, which is, "The only thing worse than being blind is having sight but no vision." Helen Keller is an incredible historical figure that I suggest you do some research on if you're looking for someone that can inspire change and innovation in your industry and in your clinic. She was legally blind, and so the quote has a little bit more substance and meaning from Helen's perspective. We have that vision in our heads, but how well have we documented it and captured the compelling elements of it to share it with our teams? That's what getting the paint on the canvas is all about with today's activity, but I hope that next week and every week you're referring to this document and refining it to make better and more purposeful decisions.